Today we're going to be discussing Excel 2013 Lesson 5 using functions. Our lesson skills that we will learn today include exploring functions, displaying dates and times with functions, summarizing data with functions, using a financial function, using formulas to create subtotals, uncovering formula errors, and displaying and printing formulas. Our key terms include argument, AutoSum, average function, count A function, max function, min function, now function, payment function, subtotal function, sum function, today function, and trace arrow. A function is a predefined formula that performs a calculation. Excel's built-in functions are designed to perform different types of calculations, from simple to complex. When you apply a function to a specific date, you eliminate the time involved in manually constructing a formula. Using functions ensures the accuracy of the formula's results. You may type functions directly into Excel or use tools on the Function Formulas tab to help you fill in formulas with the correct syntax. So we're going to highlight our Formulas tab. And as you can see, there is a function library. To open up the function dialog box, we would click the Insert Function icon. That opens up the function dialog box. If you're looking for a specific function, such as sum, I can type in sum and I can hit the word go. When I do, it's going to showcase several functions that use or hold or contain or the definition of sum, and you can go through the list, and as you select a different list, it'll give you the name, how to insert it into your Excel spreadsheet, and what that function does. I'm going to click cancel. Now, as you can see, the functions library holds all different types of functions, from AutoSum to recently used, financial, logical, text, date and time, lookup and reference, math and trig. Also, we have more functions that include statistics, engineering, cubes, which is 3D data, information compatibility, and web functions as well. Functions are simplified ways of entering formulas. The parameters of a function are called arguments, meaning the cells that you've selected or range of cells that you've selected. Each function name is followed by parentheses, which lets Excel know where the arguments begin and end. Arguments begin within the parentheses and are performed from left to right depending on the function. An argument can be a constant value, a single cell reference, a range of cells, or even other functions. If a function contains multiple arguments, the arguments are separated by commas. The functions that we will discuss today include average, which calculates the arithmetic mean or average for the values in the range of cells, max, which analyzes an argument list to determine the highest value, min, which demonstrates the smallest value given list of numbers or arguments, now, returns the current date and time, payment, determines the payment for a loan based on the interest rate of the loan, the number of payments made, and the loan amount, subtotal, which returns the subtotal for a list, sum, takes all of the values in each of the specified cells and totals their values, today, which returns the current date. So the first functions we're going to talk about are date functions. And the two that we typically use are called the now function and the today function. In cell A1, I'm going to simply type my equal sign. And as you know, this tells Excel that I want you to do some work for me. So I'm going to type the equal sign first, followed by the word now. I'm going to use my open parentheses. I must close my parentheses, and that's extremely important with working with functions. If you open the parentheses, you must also close the parentheses. So that's what I've typed in my A1 function. I'm going to hit enter, and it is going to return the current date and time, and as you can see, the time is military style. If I choose to just want the date, I can use the function called today. So that means in A2 with A2 highlighted, I'm going to hit the equal sign. Again, telling Excel, I want you to do the work for me, followed by the word today, open parentheses and close parentheses, and enter, and it's going to return the current date, which is October 26, 2015. Now, with the today function, the value returned by the today function automatically updates every time you change the worksheet. To specify a date that doesn't change, you would enter the date you want to use manually. The now function returns to today's date and current time in the default format: month, 2-day month, 2-digit year, 2-digit day, 4-digit year, 2-digit hour, and 2-digit minute. You can apply any day or time format to the values returned by the now function. And to do that, I would simply highlight A1, select A1 because that's where my now function is. I would go to the Home tab. As you can see in the number group, where I would define that is customize. It says custom. I would simply go to more number formats. That opens up the number tab on the dialog box. I can simply change that by selecting a different format here. As you can see, there are tons listed. There are tons listed. I can have it military style, the date military style as well. I can just have the time. So you can see I can have minute and second. So you can see the different changes that you can apply. Now, we are done with this particular workbook, so we can close it out. There is no need to save it, so I'm going to simply go File, Close. You do not have to save this particular workbook. The next thing we're going to talk about is summarizing data with functions. And as you know, functions provide an easy way to perform mathematical work on a range of cells quickly and conveniently. In this section shows you how to use some of the basic functions, which include sum, count, count A, average, min, and max. And we'll be using these functions quite a bit in the coming weeks. The first function we're going to learn how to use is the sum function. And the sum function totals all of the cells in the range easily and accurately. AutoSum makes that even easier by calculating default the total from the adjacent cell through the first non-numeric cell using the sum function in its formula. Sum is usually the first function that most people learn how to use in Excel, and so that's what we're going to do. So we need to open up a brand new workbook. So go with me to File, Open, and we are going to navigate to the desktop. So I'm going to go Computer, Browse, navigate to the desktop. We're going to look in the Student Assignments folder, going to the Dale folder, Excel 2013 Student Data Files. This is Lesson 5, and we're looking for Budget Start, 05 Budget Start. I'm going to open that file. Now, if you opens up in Protected View for you, all you have to do is hit Enable Editing, and we are going to save this workbook into our Miss Dale folder. So we're going to go File, Save As. We're going to use our OneDrive Houston County Board of Education. We're going to browse. We're going to browse to our Miss Dale folder. And we're going to name this 05 Budget Math Solutions. Now, once we've opened this workbook up and we are ready to work in it, we've saved it, we're going to go to cell B7, which is already highlighted for us, and we're going to type in the word equals sum, remembering that equals tells Excel we want it to do the work. I'm going to open my parentheses because now I'm ready to select my range. I am going to select from B3 to B6. Now, you will notice that when you select B3 through B6 that a border has now appeared around your range. and it's wanting you to look at that range and check to make sure this is what you want to sum or total. Because I used the open parentheses, I also have to use the closed parentheses. Now, when I close the parentheses, you will see that the border stops moving. I will simply just hit enter, and the value of 2,140 is returned. You'll also know the answer has returned in the cell, but if you look in the formula bar, the function still exists. Now, we can copy this function all the way down to the end of our non-numerical formula. So I'm going to use my autofill feature to copy this function all the way down. And as you can see, highlighting each cell, it's using the sum function that we entered. So we are going to save this workbook by simply clicking on the save icon on the quick access toolbar. And just so that you're aware, the alternative to the sum function is to create an addition formula using cell references for each value. That sometimes is tedious, so using the sum function is an easier way to achieve the same result. You can also use the auto sum feature, which is here on the home tab, editing group, or in the formulas tab, function library group, auto sum. Now, the next formula we're going to learn how to use is the count formula. And the count function is considered a statistical function. It compiles and classifies data to present a significant information. Using the count function, we're going to determine how many cells are in a specific range that contain a number value. So in our workbook that we have open in cell 05, and I'm going to use my name box this time and type 05, and it'll take me straight to 05, which is right here. I'm going to type the word count. And I'm going to hit enter. This is a label to identify the formula that we're going to be using in our next step. So once we hit enter, the active cell moved down to 06, which is what we're going to use. We're going to type equals count, and this is going to signify that to Excel that we want to use the count function. I'm going to open my parentheses, and I'm going to select my range, which is B6 through M6. Now again, notice that when I select my range, the border is activated and moving, the dashes are moving, signifying this is the range we're going to use for the formula. I opened my parentheses, so that means I have to close my parentheses. Once it recognizes that you've closed your parentheses, the moving border will stop, double check your selection, and then you will hit enter. It will now tell us that we have returned 12 counts or 12 cells that hold numeric value. We're going to save this workbook and by quickly hitting the save icon on our quick access toolbar. Now, the next function we're going to be learning how to use is the count A function. This returns the number of cells in a selected range that contains text or values, but not blank cells. So, using this workbook that we already have open, our 05 Budget Math Solutions, we're going to go to cell P5, and I'm going to type that in my name box, P5, and hit enter, so that'll take me right to where I need to go. In cell P5, I'm going to type count A, press enter. Now, this is the label identifying the formula that we're going to be using. In cell P6, which is already activated for us, we're going to go and use our formula bar this particular time and our formulas groups in the formula tab. So I'm going to the insert function button, and that will open up the insert function dialog box. In the search character, I'm going to type count A, and I'm going to hit go. And you'll notice that it returns several functions for us, and the one we're looking for is count A. So I'm going to click on it and hit OK. Now, notice when I do that, the functions argument dialog box opens. We're going to click the collapse dialog box because we have a single entry, which is right here. This is how we select our range, and our range is A6 through M6. So A6 through M6, and we can look at our function bar and here to know where M6 is. The new range is going to appear in the dialog box. We're going to then click the expand dialog box option. And the result that will be returned is right here for us, which is number 10. So we're going to click OK, and number 10 is there highlighted for us. We're going to save this workbook. The next function that we're going to learn how to use is the average function, which adds a range of cells and then divides it by the number of cell entries, determining the mean value of all values in the range. So in this same workbook that we have open, we're going to go to make our active cell 08, and I like to use my name box. In this particular cell 08, I'm going to type the word average, which is going to represent my label, and hit enter. In cell 09, I'm going to type the function name, which is equal average, remembering that Excel, when we type the equal sign, Excel knows to do our work. I'm going to open my parentheses and now select my range, which is B9 through M9. So B9 through M9. Notice that when I select my range again, I have the active border. I'm going to close my parentheses, which is extremely important, and hit enter. And it will return the result of 175.833 repeating. In cell 010, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to calculate the average by typing equals average, open parentheses, but this time I am going to select B10 through M10. I'm going to close my parentheses and hit enter. And the result should return to 93.3 repeating. Both of these numbers under the average category will tell us what the average cost for our utility bill is and the average cost of what our gas bill is. Noticing that I figured that out from our labels on the right-hand side in column 8. The next function we're going to learn how to use is the min function, which allows you to determine the minimum value in a range of cells. So in the same workbook, we're going to go to cell P8, and I'm going to type that in my name box so it'll send me automatically there and activate that cell. I'm going to type the word min as my label for the following formula that I'm going to use. And to use the min formula, I'm going to type equals min, M-I-N, open parentheses, and I'm going to use my range of B9 through M9. I'm going to close my parentheses, check my range work, making sure it's okay, and hitting enter. You'll notice that in several of these formulas, I have yet to use the total category. Using the total category is going to throw a lot of your data off, especially when it comes to average, min, max, min, and max. You want to be very careful about selecting your range. I'm going to add another min function, but this time I'm going to go to my AutoSum function and hit the drop-down list. You'll notice that it's listed here right underneath the AutoSum. It'll automatically type it in for you. And once you click that, you'll notice that it automatically selects some information for you. By default, it's going to select the information that's right above the formula. I don't want that particular P9 as my range. I can simply go in and change it by selecting a different one. And so for this particular range, I want it to be B10 through M10, which I've now highlighted. Notice that it already adds the open and closed parentheses for you, which a lot of people do like. And so all you have to do is check your range and hit enter. And the minimum value for that range is 70. The next thing we're going to learn how to use is using the max function. The max function returns the largest value in a set of values. The max function works the same way as the min, except max determines the maximum value in a range of cells. First, we're going to enter it manually. So I'm going to go to cell Q8, and I'm going to type that in my name box, Q8. That's going to take me right to active cell Q8. In that box, I'm going to type max as my label, and I'm going to hit enter. That's going to automatically take me down to cell Q9. And in cell Q9, I'm going to enter this cell, this function manually by hitting the equals, max. I'm going to open my parentheses and select my range, which is B9 through M9. I'm going to close my parentheses and hit enter. And that returns the maximum value result of 230, which is the highest monthly electricity bill that you can expect to receive. Now I'm going to insert this function not manually, but automatically by using the AutoSum function on my Formulas tab. You'll also see that there is a max function. Again, by default, it's going to pre-select what's above the formula. And so we know we don't want to use that as our range because we're trying to find out what the highest monthly gas bill is going to be. So I'm going to come over and reselect my cell range, which is B10 through M10, and hit enter. And the highest monthly gas bill we can expect is $120. Now we are done learning how to use the basic functions that most people typically learn how to use in Excel. So we're going to save our work by clicking the Save button on the Quick Access toolbar and closing this spreadsheet. Next, we're going to learn how to use a financial function, and these functions provide a wide variety of predetermined calculations for you to choose from, allowing you to easily perform a complex calculation to use it in your worksheet. One of the first financial functions you're going to learn how to use is the payment function. So the payment function requires a series of inputs regarding interest rate, loan amount or principal, loan duration, and then calculates the resulting loan payment. So we're going to open up the O5 budget payment data file from the lesson folder by going to File, Open, we're going to Computer, we're going to navigate to the desktop, then we're going to go to Miss Student Assignments, Miss Dale's folder, Excel 2013 Student Data Files, Lesson 5, and we're looking for O5 budget payment, and I'm going to hit open. Now, if your budget opens in a protected view, you'll want to hit enable editing. We're going to save this workbook, so let's go File, Save As, OneDrive Houston County Board of Education, Browse. We're going to browse to our Miss Dale folder. And in this folder, we're going to name this workbook O5 Budget Payment PMT Solution. And hit save. Now, we're going to go to cell R2 and we're going to type in some labels for us. So I'm going to go to R2, which is already selected for me. I'm going to type electronics. Hit enter. I'm then going to type the word interest. Hit enter. Years. Then enter. In R5, I'm going to type loan amount. Hit enter. And then in R6, I'm going to type payment. And now all of these will serve as our labels for our payment function. And I'm going to simply come up in between on the border of R and S and double click to adjust my column width. Now, I'm going to place my active cell as S3. And I'm going to type 7.5%, and that is going to represent our interest for electronics. I'm going to press enter. In cell 7.4, I'm going to press 2. These are the number of years in which the loan will be repaid, so 2 years to repay the loan. In cell S5, I'm going to type 2,500 and hit enter. This represents the loan amount, which will cover the total cost of the equipment. And so in LS6, we're going to now figure out the payments. So we're going to manually type in the payment function. And we're going to hit equals, telling Excel that we want it to do the work. The subtraction sign, payment. We're going to open our parentheses, and you'll notice that below you have we have an example of how this function is to be typed in. So the first thing that we're going to select is the rate, okay, or interest rate, which is S3. We're going to follow that by a comma. Okay. The next, or a forward slash. Okay. The next thing we are going to select is 12, because the interest rate is over 12 months. Follow that by a comma. Now we are going to select the number of years, which is 2. We're going to follow that by a multiplication sign and 12, because that is how many payments we're going to make. So if there's 12 months in a year, 2 times 12 is 24, and we want Excel to do that math for us, followed by a comma, and then we're going to select the loan amount, followed by our close parentheses. Once we've double checked our work, we're going to hit enter, and the result is $112.50, which will be calculated as our loan payment. So we're going to save this workbook, and that is how to calculate simple payment function. I'm going to go over again how to insert the payment function and how it calculates the loan using the formula bar. Okay. The rate is the interest rate charged per period. The NPR is the total number of payments for the loan, which is why we've had to multiply here the number of years of the loan by how many payments. The PVR is the present value of the loan. In other words, how much you owe, which is the amount we're going to receive, which is $1,200. Okay. And that's why we selected that. We're going to, again, save this workbook, and you may close it. The next thing we're going to learn how to do is use formulas to create subtotals. Many Excel veterans use formulas to create subtotals. Subtotaling lets you more easily analyze large sets of data. You can specify ranges for subtotals, even if the ranges are not continuous. In this section, you're going to learn how to use the subtotal function applied to ranges and named ranges. So we're going to open up from the lesson files, 05 budget subtotal data file. So I'm going to go File, Open. I'm going to navigate to the desktop, then Student Assignments, Excel 2013 data files, lesson 5. I'm looking for budget subtotals. I'm going to open that file up. Remember, if it opens up in protected view, we're just going to simply hit enable editing. And we are going to save this workbook into our Miss Dale folder with the name of Budget Subtotals Solution. So I'm going to go File, Save As, OneDrive, Houston County Board of Education. Then I'm going to browse to my Miss Dale folder. And remember, I'm going to name this 05 Budget Subtotal Solutions. And save. Now, we're going to select the range B7 through M7. On the Formulas tab in the Define Name group, we're going to click Define Name button. So Formulas, Define Name group, Define Name button. The new name box will open, and in the name box, we're going to verify the name, which is non-utility subtotals. That appears. Once we've double checked that that's what the name is called, we're going to click OK. And then we are going to save. Now we are ready to use the subtotal function. So in cell B17, we're going to type the word subtotal. So we're going to type equals subtotal. Open parentheses. We're now going to select the range in which we want our function to subtotal. So I'm going to type 9, comma, B7. I'm going to select B7, comma, and B16. And I'm going to close my parentheses. This formula adds the non-utility subtotal and the utility subtotal for January. I'm then going to hit enter, and the results will show up as reading the wrong line, as $2,775. We're going to copy this formula from B17 all the way down to M17, so I'm going to make that my active cell, use my autofill feature, and as you can see, it automatically fills in our formula. We are going to save this workbook, and we're going to leave it open. As you enter the subtotal function in Excel, it displays a list of function numbers for the first argument. The function number for sum is 9, which is why we hit 9 for sum. You can learn the function numbers for the other arguments, such as average, count, or count A, when entering a subtotal function or by searching for subtotal in Excel help. Now, the next thing we're going to discuss is modifying ranges for subtotaling. Once you create a range and a subtotal, you can easily modify it by editing the range in the formula. You can also modify ranges that are already used in formulas that include the subtotal function. So in cell N19, N17, I'm going to drag over my results from the previous subtotal formula to get 16,980, and we're going to modify this formula. So I'm going to use the formula bar to modify the formula entered. So I'm going to go up here. I'm still going to use the number 9 to represent the sum function. I'm also going to make sure that we are going to use name ranges. And the first name range we're going to use is non-utility subtotals. And you will see that come up. I'm going to click on that. I'm sorry, I accidentally hit the enter key, so I'm going to go back and type that in, non-utility subtotals. Okay, and you'll notice that that's going to highlight a range for me. I'm then going to change the next one to utility subtotals. Now, that's going to highlight the utility subtotals range for me, and I'm simply going to hit enter to receive a new and correct subtotal of 24,234. I'm going to save my work. Now, we're going to practice modifying another formula. I'm going to come down here and click on cell B19. And in cell B19, you will see the results of 11,735. But if you look on the formula bar, you will see that a function has been entered of equals sum, open parentheses, Q1 expenses, close parentheses. Now, we're going to change this function. So I am going to delete it out and hit equals subtotal, open parentheses, and I can go in and select, I can go in and see the different numbers that I want to use. I know I want to use number 9 as my function for adding, followed by a comma. I'm going to type in Q1 expenses, and you will see that it comes up in the name range for us and highlights it for us, followed by a closed parentheses. Check my work, then I'm going to hit enter. Again, it's going to return 11,735, and this cell sums the named range expense Q1 expenses. Because the name range includes monthly data and subtotals, you need the correct range to include only subtotal fixtures. All right, we're going to save our work, and we are done with using subtotal functions. So we're going to close this workbook and move on to our next topic, which includes uncovering formula errors. Formulas, because of the sometimes complex mathematics behind them, are prone to errors when you enter them manually. Fortunately, Excel provides easy-to-use tools to find and correct problems. All right, so we're going to learn how to review error messages. And this is the best way to resolve an error is to analyze or audit the error message Excel provides you. A warning icon appears to the left of the cell errors, and clicking the icon provides a pop-up menu with formula evaluation and format editing commands. So we're going to open up a new workbook, O5 Budget Error Data File from this lesson folder. So I'm going to go File, Open, and you should be opening the Excel folder along with me. I'm going to go Computer, Desktop, Browse the Student Assignments, then the Dale folder, followed by Excel 2013 Data Files, Lesson 5 Student Files, and I'm looking for O5 Budget Error. Again, if it opens in Protected View, all you simply need to do is hit Enable Editing. So we're going to make cell S6 our active cell, which is already done for us. And we're going to edit the formula and change S3 to R3. So right up here in the formula bar, I'm going to hit the backspace on the S3 and change it to an R3. And I am going to hit enter. You will notice that in the cell, an error pops up. And you will see a hashtag value exclamation point. This is the arrow that is being displayed. When you make this cell active, the warning icon appears. It's a yellow diamond with an exclamation point in it, and a drop box appears with a list of options to help you follow this error because it's telling you there's an error in value. So I can simply click, it's telling me what the error is. If I need help on this error, I can select that. Show calculation steps, so it'll show me how to calculate this. I can choose to ignore this error. If I know it's correct, I can edit it in the formula bar, which will make the formula bar active, or I can arrow checking options. It will open up a dialog, the Excel formulas tab options in Backstage view. All right, so the first thing I know I want to do is I want to edit this in the formula bar because, and then when I do that, it's going to highlight all of these selections made. And the first thing that we're going to see is that R3 is a label, and R3 holds no numeric value, which is why we got an error. So I'm simply going to go back up, delete R, change it to S, and hit enter, and my new payment value should appear. We're going to save this. So let's go File, Save As, OneDrive Houston County Board of Education, browse to your Miss Dale folder, and we're going to name this O5 Budget Error Solution, and save. We're going to leave this workbook open because we're going to use it in our next exercise, which involves tracing and removing trace arrows. It's not always easy to solve an error formula error, even using the Show Calculation Steps command, the Evaluate Formula dialog box, and Excel Help. Another method is to use the trace arrows, which shows the relationships between formulas in the cells that they refer. Okay. The next thing we're going to discuss is displaying and printing formulas. And this is extremely important when it comes to turning in work or printing out work. So we're going to close this workbook. So go File, Close. We're going to open up a new workbook. So we're going to go Open, Computer, Desktop, Student Assignments, Dale folder, Excel 2013, Lesson 5, and we're going O5 Budget Print. Okay. Now, if your protected view warning bar comes up, all you have to simply do is hit Enable Editing. All right. So sometimes you need to audit your formulas, and it's easier for some people to use it on a printed out sheet. So to audit formulas, we're on a print to have them print on a sheet. We're simply going to go to the Formulas tab, the Formula Auditing Group, and you'll notice that there's a button there to click that says Show Formulas. Now, when you do that, all of the formulas for every group every cell will show instead of the results. The other thing that's extremely important is to select all and go to your Home tab, Cells Group, Format, and auto fit your column width so that every column is wide enough to see the entire formula. So as you can see, I have had to adjust so I can see the entire formula in each cell. Now we're going to practice printing this. So we're going to go to the File tab, Print. Okay. For this particular workbook, I would highly suggest that you change the orientation from portrait to landscape. Another option would be to change the margins from normal to narrow. So this tries to squeeze in as much of the worksheet and workbook as you can. Another option in printing would be to scale it so that all columns fit on one page, and that will zoom it in and zoom it out. Now, looking at this print preview, you would see, okay, Miss Dale, she can't read that. So I would adjust that there is no scaling so that you would be able to go through and I would be able to check the different formulas with ease. Now, to print, you would just simply click on the print button. We're not going to do that today, but that would be how to print formulas. Now, you say, okay, well, Miss Dale, how do I get it back to the results? All you simply have to do is go back to the Formulas tab, Formula Auditing Group, and click off your Show Formulas, and everything will go back to the results so that you can see your answers. In today's lesson, the skills you should have learned is to find tools for building functions on the Formulas tab, to display dates and times with functions, to use the sum function, to use the count function, to use the average function, to use the min and max functions, to use the payment financial function, to use formulas to create subtotals, to respond to formula errors, and to display and print formulas. You are now ready to begin Excel 2013 Lesson 5 activities.